Hey guys, welcome back to another weekly workshop here at the ECX Scooter Shop. Today we got a handful of things to do. Just got in a little Affinity handlebar restock. We still have plenty of the titanium bars in stock, but we did run out of the steel. So I wanted to make sure to get the staples in and steel Affinity classic T-bars.
Call them classic for a reason.
Yeah, they're the classics for a reason. Can't go wrong with them. So I want to unbox those, get them hung up. Then we have a handful of other things to do. One big thing that we want to go over, we got a comment on our TikTok page, which if you're not on TikTok, check us out. But somebody asked why they need a spacer in between their bearings. So if that's a question you have, or if you're curious about why that is necessary, definitely keep watching. We're gonna go over it in depth in a little bit here. And then at the end of the day, I'm gonna be doing another crazy custom grip tape job because they're fun, so yeah. So if you're not familiar, Affinity handlebars are handmade in Riverside, California by fellow scooter riders. One thing though is we're on the East Coast here in Delaware, so we're pretty much at the opposite ends of the country from each other. So because the steel handlebars weigh so much, due to no fault of Affinity's, due to UPS and FedEx and whatnot, I don't think we've ever gotten a restock order that isn't like torn up like this. So that's always exciting. Always a little bit scary to get a wholesale order and there's a big hole in it. But again, Affinity does everything that they do the best they can. It's not their fault at all. It's these shipping companies with heavy handlebars, but it's a constant. So I gotta double check on my invoice. I ordered these a little bit ago, so I don't fully remember everything I ordered in right off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure I just got the black and the raw colorways of the oversized and standard bars. Because again, we got tons of bars in stock right now, so I didn't go crazy with the colors. I just wanted to get some of these, again, the classics. Yeah, if you're looking for a quality steel handlebar, if weight is not a concern for you, if strength is your #1 priority, the Affinity T-bars are for sure a great way to go. They have an extra thick crossbar compared to some other brands, so that way, instead of needing extra, gussets that some people think are ugly, we get some additional strength without the gusset. So I gotta move some bars and make room to hang up all these new Affinities we just got in. I just wanna highlight 2 USA made and rider-owned brands that we have in the shop here. So the Affinities, that's nothing new. We've had these for a long, long time. We have the steel and the titanium versions, but we also have the Midnight bars in stock. And it's kind of interesting to just kind of look and compare the two because they're both quality handlebars. They both have the extra thick crossbar, so they're very, overall similar. And yet, at the same time, the notching is a little bit different. So it's just kind of interesting to compare the two. The Affinity Classic T-bars are for sure one of the most popular T-bars that we sell. So for better or worse, I do usually end up putting them in this back corner. So I'm gonna kind of take all the bars that are on this rack right here. I'm gonna move them, kind of disperse them throughout the rest. Probably put some of the Affinity tie bars in the back room just because we got a bunch of those out on the showroom right now. And then I'll fill this rack up with the steel bars and then we'll see how everything else looks. Cool. No surprise, but we got all the bars we ordered. These are aluminum. I think I'm gonna put a set of dryads in the back. Oh, this? Yeah, unfortunately while we were at Woodward, I did have a pretty bad ankle sprain. And prior to that and re-injured, I have some issues with my toes. My big toe's been broken and my little ones aren't doing too good. Handful of injuries over the past couple months that I just never let fully heal, so I'm definitely paying the price for that. But another good thing about being a rider-owned shop is I don't have some boss that's angry that I hurt my ankle riding my scooter, and that is also a negative though, no workman's comp, and so for better or worse, bad ankle, bad wrist, bad whatever, broken, sprain, I'm here at the shop helping you out. All right, now we got all the new Affinity bars that were restocked. We got those all hung up on the rack. If you've watched any of the previous videos, you've heard us talking about packing materials. It's the same way. Whenever we get a wholesale order in from these manufacturers, they usually give some sort of protective coating on the bars like this. Affinity gives like a rubber netting so that you don't get any scratches or dings on your handlebar prior to shipment or during shipment. And so we always make sure to keep all these so that way if you ever order bars online from us, not only can we custom cut them for free to whatever size you need. Affinities are only made 28 by 24 size. We can cut them down for free for you to whatever size you need. We'll put them back in this packing material, get it shipped up nice and safely to you. Because even though as you do tricks, you're gonna scratch that paint job up, I understand that you want your brand new product to look good when you get it. So we got you covered. So in this video, I definitely want to talk a little bit about bearings and your wheels. A common question that we get, and we got it again recently, is why do I need a spacer in between my bearings when we're talking about the bearings in our wheels? Well, let's get into it a little bit. So, have you ever had a situation where you have like a brand new or a used set of wheels, you go to throw it on your scooter, you tighten your axle all the way, and then all of a sudden your wheels or your bearings are no longer spinning? Or have you had a situation where you tighten it all the way and it's spinning fine, but even though you crank down on your axle as much as you can, your wheel still has a little bit of shake to it? Both of those situations are most commonly caused by not having the proper spacer installed inside of your wheel. How does this happen? Well, even when you buy brand new wheels, you're not guaranteeing that the spacer in between the bearings is the exact right tolerance to the wheel if you're cheaping out on getting inexpensive wheel. In front of me here, I have a pack of the River Flash Flood bearings that we sell here at the shop. And these are gonna be similar to any scooter bearing as far as the content. Let's open it up and take a peek. Whew. All right, so there's those spacers we were talking about. So for a scooter, essentially you're gonna need 4 bearings and 2 bearing spacers. Now these spacers, although they might be the same or look similar to your deck spacers, they are not the same function, and you need to have a spacer in between your bearings. Let's get into why. After this phone call. ECX Scooter Shop. Yeah, what's up? Okay. Are you asking if I can stay a little bit late for you? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not planning to leave right at 6 today, so I'm sure that would work out. So I'd say if it ends up that you're coming a little bit after 6, give me a call closer to. But this phone call here, I'll make sure to hang out a little bit and know that you'll be coming closer around that time. Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you giving me a heads up, and yeah, just give me a call a little later. Yeah, for sure. I'll see you later. Alrighty, sorry about that delay there. One of the Newport Skate Park locals just called. They're not gonna make it in. Technically I close at 6, but I'm not hourly, I'm not on the clock or nothing like that. So little calls like that, everybody locally knows. They can give me a heads up, and if I don't have something where I need to leave right at 6, I got you covered. I don't mind staying late. The spacer that needs to go in between your bearings, its function is to ensure that when you compress the bearings with your axle, you're not going to over compress the bearing. So that's what happens if you don't have the spacer in between them, or the spacer is not quite the right size, like it's small, like the wrong spacer, then when you tighten your axle, it's gonna put additional strain on your bearing. So your bearing has the outer ring and then the inner ring, and then it has little ball bearings to keep it rolling and keep it all spaced apart. And then you also have a casing that keeps those ball bearings evenly spaced to make sure that they don't get bound up together and then just stall. A good example or a good way to see this, one of our customers years ago actually gave me a train motor bearing. And even though it's a bit different than a scooter bearing, it's a really good visual of what a bearing looks like in a bigger scale. So here's a nice XL size of what your bearing, its basic design and function is like. On this train bearing, it has a metal casing. To keep friction down, since it's much smaller, we don't have a metal casing on most scooter bearings, but other than that, pretty similar, especially for the sake of this video and conversationally, this is a nice little visual. So, like I said, you have this outer shell right here, and that is what contacts your wheel. And then you have the inner ring right here. This is what contacts your axle. And that is what allows your bearing, with all these ball bearings evenly spaced by the casing, to spin separate and basically work as a wheel. Now what happens is, if you're putting a strain by tightening your axle, you're pushing on this inner casing, and if the spacer for your bearing is not there to stop it from being overly compressed, then you're gonna be pressing the inner ring without pressing the outer ring, and that is going to cause additional friction on the ball bearing, and it's going to halt your bearing from spinning at all. Now the same thing can kind of happen if you have too big of a spacer, or if you don't tighten your axle all the way, then you're not going to be compressing the bearing. In which case then the outer shell will have too much movement and it will actually wiggle when in contact with an axle on the inner. And so when that happens, you could put a brand new axle on, brand new wheel, brand new bearings, tighten it all down, crank it down as much as you need to, and if the spacer is too big in comparison to the core of the wheel, then it's gonna have that shake. In that situation, unfortunately, the only real solution to that is either a different spacer, or in most jobs here, I'll take the spacer out and then I'll machine it down on what we have called a lathe, where I'll turn the face of that down to the actual proper dimension for the wheel core. And the reason that that happens in our industry is most brands out there make a high quality wheel with a nice core, but then they'll cheap out with just the included free bearings. And if they have just a cheap included free spacer, if it's not to the same high tolerance as the wheel, you're gonna run into some issues where sometimes it compresses too much, sometimes it doesn't get compressed enough. And that's why some brands like River Wheels, which are USA made and have a higher tolerance, you're not gonna run into those issues as much. So that's why people always say, you get what you pay for. It's not that these wheels are just more expensive than some other options, but there's a reason for that. And that's because even the little parts, like the spacer, which is super, super important, despite what most riders think, are not forgotten about. Even the spacers are to a nice, high tolerance to be the right dimension and the right size for the core of the wheel. So just always make sure that at a minimum you have a spacer in between your bearings, because it's kind of common, like I know a lot of people they prefer the sound of their axles being loose, and that's fine. It's your scooter, you can do whatever you want. However, just understand that if you purposely ride your axle loose, if you purposely don't put the spacer in, if you're purposely doing these things to make it be a certain way, you're also purposely making the bearings more susceptible to break. And so again, do whatever you want, but if you're tired of breaking your bearings all the time, there's probably a reason that you're breaking your bearings. The back wheel we do a lot of damage to, but there are a lot of ways to help prevent damage and to minimize maintenance. So having the right tolerance spacer and having a spacer in between your bearings goes a long, long way. And also just making sure your axle is actually tight, because your bearings need to be compressed to work properly. So let's say I pulled out a wheel, brand new bearings, I put it on a scooter, and it has some shake back and forth. Like I mentioned a little bit ago, that usually means that the spacer in between the bearings is not the actual proper dimension for the core of the wheel. And if it has that shake back and forth even when the axle is fully tight, that usually means that the spacer is slightly too big. So I'm gonna show you guys what we do in this situation. Now, if the spacer was too small like we talked about, I just swap it out for a different spacer, because there's no way to make a spacer bigger. You just get a new one. However, if it's too big, I can, it's called turning it down. So I put it on a lathe and I take the overall width and I can make it the proper size. So let's go into the warehouse and I'll show you how we do it. Alright, so I was about to show you guys how we machine those spacers down to be the right tolerance. However, customer came in, we installed a headset, and they need a quick little 1/2 inch cut off their bars. So I'm gonna get these cut, get that customer back out the door, getting riding again, and then we'll go back and I'll show you how we machine those spacers, and we'll wrap up this weekly workshop. Yeah, so I just need to pretty much just take a little sliver off the end of this just to get it to the perfect right tolerance that we don't have that play back and forth anymore. I'm going to open up the jaws, tighten down on the little spacer, and then just give it a little shave right to the right size. Cool. All right, I just wanted to double check it, but we are now at the proper dimension there. So now we can put it back in between the bearings, tighten it up, we'll be good to go, no more shake. Alrighty, so the last thing I'm gonna do before we head out, the shop is now closed. Got kept a little bit late doing that bar cut and all, don't mind at all. Always happy to do that when I'm able. But that guy, thank you so much, Alex, locally, for giving me the call. That's what I always ever need. I don't mind staying late, but giving me that heads up is much appreciated. Sometimes I do, you know, I am a person. I have plans sometimes. Right now, we have, I've been doing a lot of grip tape install jobs for our TikTok and other various social medias. We've been doing a lot of YouTube shorts, trying our best to keep up with keeping posts going on Instagram, and as well as growing our TikTok page. So I know I mentioned it earlier and in other videos, but if you guys are not yet following our TikTok page, for sure check it out. We got some cool videos there that are not on all of our other social medias. So different kind of content, different style, and the grip tape videos that we're doing on there are super cool. Grip tape videos are nice because they can kind of bridge outside of just the scooter niche, and they kind of end up getting some spikes in views, which is nice because it's a good way to get new riders interested in the sport. You know, if you have somebody that's super into skating, they might not be exposed to scootering, and you have a grip tape video that pops up on their For You page because they follow all the skateboarding stuff, and then they're like, wait, this isn't a skateboard, this is a scooter. And then they hit us up and they're like, I found you guys on TikTok, can you tell me about scootering and entry-level scooters, all this sort of stuff. So it's really cool for that. And then also they started the, I forget what it's called, there's the creator program is like old news, and then there's program beta, I think it's called. We signed up for that program, and so we actually get paid just for views on our TikTok videos. There's a couple little like requirements to it, but essentially in only the 2 weeks we've been getting that program rolling, it's been going really well. So again, if you guys are not yet following us on TikTok, it really does help a lot in so many different ways. One, to help grow the sport, and two, to help support our business. So definitely check it out, share everything. Interactions are appreciated. Ask questions. We love to help and answer things on there. And yeah, so right now I'm setting up the tripod. I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna film a crazy grip tape install job. Yesterday, I used some of the new tilt grip tape, and as much as it hurt, I went through, I ripped it up, made sure not to mess up the logo, but I did like a cracked grip tape job. And so today, I wanna try and do something a little bit crazier. So I'm not gonna put it in this video, but definitely go to the TikTok or check out our Instagram later if you wanna see what we ended up filming here. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna put some of the yellow lightning bolt tilt discharge grip tape on the yellow North Horizon G2 deck, and so then it's going to be like the yellow on yellow. I'm going to do some of the crack in it as well, kind of similar to that old video, because one of the comments that we got was this looks like lightning bolts, but it was on a blue deck, so I'm going to do it on the yellow deck because then it'll really look like a lightning bolt, and the tilt grip tape already has a yellow lightning bolt. But I'm also going to merge it away with transparent grip tape that North Scooters makes with some stickers underneath. So it's definitely going to be like a trifecta of craziness going on grip tape wise, so definitely check it out.